DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello everybody and welcome to this week's AMA with DeFi Kingdoms. Excited to be here as always. We're going to run through a couple of updates and then we're going to dive into some of the questions that all of you fine folks have been submitting for us. And this week we do not have 17 Matty Pass questions, so we're gonna get some variety in here. Just kidding, love you, Matty. But first and foremost, we do have with us for the moment the friskiest of foxes. However, he is going to have to drop here in a few minutes, so I wanted to turn it over to him and talk about the duels update that went live last night.
Yeah, no, thank you, Bolan. And yeah, sorry, I have some real life things that I have to go to, so only able to stay for the first part of this one. But I did want to hop in and just say hi, and also just add a note that Duels 1v1 is launched now. Shout out to Beetle Dude and Winston for sort of like the finding and the fixing of a few minor bugs that were in there. So it's ready to go, and hope you guys enjoy it. I'm excited to see what it looks like, and we have some pretty good scripts that I've built now for analytics and such, so should be able to have an eye on that. But yeah, the main thing is just duels, and then also I've been really busy with, a handful of other things too, like PvP and stuff with like the voting with Holiday. So continue to stay busy and excited about some stuff that'll be coming up. So thanks, and hi everyone, and bye everyone. Bullish.
Thanks for hopping in while you could, Fox, and hope all the real life stuff goes smoothly. I have to remember what real life is first, though. All right. And next up, we are going to talk a little bit about what dropped last night, as well as what is coming up. So, to help intro that, in case anybody has missed it, that's right, another class has entered the combat arena with its codex. The Berserker is live. Been seeing a lot of people playing around with it and having a lot of fun, which is awesome. But I wanted to turn it over to Hubert, Beetle, really anybody that wants to, for any thoughts on the Berserker class going on.
Excellent. Well, I guess I'll talk first because I have gone fully berserked, as you can see from my title. I've gone insane. I'm hitting myself. I'm hitting my friends, as well as my enemies. I'm hitting them all, and I can't control myself. Yeah, hopefully people are enjoying the new class. It just dropped last night. It seems like things are looking pretty good, which is always exciting for me. It means less bug fixing. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting class. It's a new paradigm that we haven't really explored yet, where you can injure yourself, your team, and others, all for the sake of getting going completely insane. So it's good stuff. Hopefully people are enjoying it.
Or insane in the membrane?
Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. So yeah, we're excited that we were able to get two classes out in pretty short order. First Seer and now Berserker. And just making really great progress there. We've mentioned in our release notes and announcements that we will probably be shifting more of our focus away from classes and onto PvP progress, which we're excited about. But maybe before I dig too much into that, I'll let Hubert talk, and then I can take it back and talk about that jazz.
Yeah, so I don't know if how many of you guys were following like the original Berserker Codex, but it did change quite a bit from how we had it initially to now. And that was a really fun shift. We were just reviewing it, Workhorse and I, right before we were starting to implement it, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was really what a Berserker should be. That we were missing a certain element of lack of control and craziness. So we kind of overhauled the whole thing with how Berserk worked, and really kind of turned it into having it be way more focused on going Berserk, especially at lower levels. I think in the original Codex, you couldn't even go Berserk until like level 30 or something like that. Maybe 35. I can't remember, but it was going Berserk was like a rare thing that wouldn't even be available in the beginning initially. So that bothered me. So yeah, we gave it a big shift, and I think it worked out really well. I know the class is a little bit chaotic and can turn the tides against you in some circumstances, but in other cases, like he is also, or they are very strong, and they're also very fun. I really like the animations that that SBD was able to come up with for it, and I think now that we are turning our focus to PvP, it's going to make it for a really interesting experience when someone realizes that they're going up against some berserkers, and then how to deal with that, since they're kind of a very unique force to reckon with. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Hubert. Appreciate it. And yeah, just excellent design. It's always fun to see how much class changes once it actually gets into testing. So I guess just a shout out to our mechanics team that do a great job making it feel good, and our testing team for helping them make it feel good and providing the feedback we need to make it awesome, which hopefully people are getting the hang of. So yeah, and then
sorry to interrupt you, Beetle.
Yeah.
I just wanted to second the animation's absolutely incredible. And if anybody has not seen the Bloodlust animation, that one's the best. Like, really knocked it out of the park there.
It's true. Those face punches. It's how I get pumped up every morning before I go to work. That's how I pump myself up. Just some face punches. Consecutive face punches. Well, cool. So yeah, Berserker is gonna be probably the class that the last class before we get to PvP. I'll say that we are making good progress in that area as well. I don't know if I can give away too much, but we've got a map, we've got some zones, we have a testable PvP environment, along with just a proof of concept about how that'll work, and just making a lot of good progress there. We are waiting a little bit on Eigenlayer to be implemented still, just to understand the particulars of what we'll be working with. So that will delay a little bit on the contract side, but on the combat engine side, we're continuing to make progress and get prepared for when that drops, and we're able to make progress there. And I guess maybe a point of clarification in case it was confusing to anyone, that our class implementation that we once we do finish up with phase 1 doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be jumping right back into class implementation. It's possible that we might work on some here and there, but it'll probably take around the same amount of time that we've been taking to make classes after that point. So we'll have to see where we're at then, and go from there. But yeah, we're just excited to make progress. PvP is going to be huge, and I think having these 2 extra classes in ahead of time is going to be a good boon as well, and let people experience some cool stuff. So yeah, that's it.
And I'll just jump in real quick to just mention that, we do have a bunch more classes to implement still, but there's also several other mechanics that are still missing from the game that I'd also like us to be able to focus on as well. So while there may not be new classes, there may be other things that we'll be adding along the way with PvP stuff. So I look forward to that. And with those things, it will be important for PvP, but also will impact everything else as well in the game.
Awesome. Yeah, really excited to see the progress, and we will be bringing y'all more information as we are able to. One last update, and then we will move into some questions. Our partnership with Big Red, the Big Red Head Visage, is still available. There are 10 days remaining, plus I think a handful of hours, but 10 days remaining to purchase the Big Red Head. As of last night's update, you can actually see how many have been purchased directly in the Visage shop, which is super useful. Shout out to, I think Pinecone and Zipper were the driving forces behind that. So at the moment, 264 of them have been purchased. As a reminder, at the end of the 30 days, there will be $15,000 worth of TD tokens distributed evenly between all of the purchases. So this one will be very similar to how the Karate Combat one worked, where you will get tokens as a reward, essentially, at the end of the sales period. So super excited for that. 10 days to go. It's a really, really cool Visage. If you haven't seen any of the Hunts replays or anything with it on, check out their Twitter. They posted an invite for people to share them, and they're pretty cool looking. Gotta have a big bear head. You look like Sun Bear a little bit. Anybody have anything they want to add on the Big Red side before we go into questions?
I'll just say math. Do math on the reward versus the cost of them, because that's a pretty big differential from a 15K divided by 250 or so items versus a $10 price tag. There's math there. That's all I'll say.
Well, and who doesn't want to look like Sun Bear? I mean, come on.
Right.
It's amazing.
Like a mad, angry Sun Bear.
A mad, or a sunburnt Sun Bear. I like to think.
Oh, there you go.
I've spent some time out in the sun today on the boat, maybe.
When Dreamer said math, I just got the GIF imprinted in my brain of the confused woman and the triangle and everything. It just went straight through my mind. All right, let's dive into some questions. First one up is for you, Hubert. Retaliate. Does the formula for accuracy change on Retaliate?
No, it should be the same as just like a standard attack that doesn't have any DOD or anything. So it's just going to be the accuracy of your weapon and your hero versus the evasion of the enemy.
Thank you, sir. Thoughts on if we have plans to include a jeweler in the Metis outpost for the purpose of power-ups related to PvP and or fee sharing and or voting power for Metis jewel holders?
So I'll just say we're still working out all the details that with what we're going to do with our implementation over there. It's possible we'll end up doing something different. It's possible we may do something along those lines as well. It's a little too early for us to be making any solid announcements on that.
Thank you. Just to clarify, actually, to start out with, so the question started with if expeditions are in testing. Just to clarify, they are not yet in testing. They are progressing very nicely, though. But if expeditions are progressing and presumably relatively close, why is the team spending time on so many quest queue additions?
Yeah, good question. I mean, so expeditions are going to be kind of a premium feature. There is a fee associated with it. There's power-ups associated with it. So like there will still be people that are going to just do questing just the manual way, I think, even though expeditions are going to be really convenient for those that use it. So I think just in the purposes of like always going for better quality of life, we do have a thread of work that comes out mostly from Mr. Zipper that can allow us to kind of get additional quality of life features out. And a lot of this work also kind of feeds into expeditions as well, like the summary screen that we added to the questing complete modal. That same summary screen is going to likely have its place with the expedition complete modals as well. So like it's not really like exclusive work for one thing or the other. It's all just in the effort of making the game better and more accessible to everybody. So I generally don't think there's like anytime we can add quality of life features, I think we should, if we have the bandwidth to do it. It just makes the game better in a lot of ways. Like if you can remember back to how questing was in the very, very beginning versus now, we've done a lot of different things to just improve that experience. And I think we have the bandwidth to do it, so we should do it, is kind of my mindset here.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And Berserker. Isn't it a penalty enough that the Berserker is uncontrollable while Berserk? Why does he have to hit allies?
I mean, he's just a crazy guy. You got to be careful around them. They can't see very well when they're berserked. So they're generally controlled, but yeah, I think just kind of a part of the class fantasy that we were going for. We wanted him to be more of a wild card, and even though, I mean, it is still a little bit of a only 20% chance that it's going to happen per attack. It can still happen. It also just helps kind of balance it out so that we can have him be a little bit stronger, just because there's that additional risk that comes with it. So I think many have noticed that they do hit quite strong if you can get their mushroom effect like maxed out, or if you're using the one that's like based on their HP, then have their HP quite low. Like it's a very powerful class. It just comes with some risks that you have to deal with. So I really think that makes it more fun. It's going to kind of bring chaos to the battlefield, especially in PvP. I imagine some very funny fights are going to occur because of the way Berserker works. So I'm pretty happy with how we have that set up. But we always are looking out to see if we need to make some adjustments, and I'm sure there will be some balance changes for Berserker in the future, as there are for all classes. So we'll just see how things are going. But yeah, I personally like it. And I think it fits very well with the fantasy of the class.
It's fun too because there are available combos and effects that happen when allies die, and then sometimes you kill your ally, but then you still get that. It's fun. Let chaos reign, just embrace it. Will shiny hero cards have any utility in the upcoming burn mechanic?
So, I mean, shiny cards have always kind of been just a cosmetic thing. So I'd say it's unlikely, but I'll at least mention that I'll bring it back to the game committee and see if we have any thoughts about it. But initially, I wasn't planning on there being anything for that, or other cosmetic things like appearance genes or anything like that. So it'll likely be that way, but we'll have more details when we get closer to having that out.
Thank you. There's a question about when we could do a vote for Gen 0 hero cooldown. Fox actually talked about it last week. Well, actually, originally the week before last, and then last week that he's been putting some time in on our voting system to get it back up and running properly. I know he was spending some time on it this past week as well, or this, I guess, current week, whatever I'm trying to say. So things are moving along there, and it is something that we want to get sorted in the short term so that we can go back to having some governance votes. We got a couple of them that we want to do. So that is progressing, and we want to make sure it doesn't drag out too long. Let's see. Going back to you, Hubert, and maybe Beetle as well, but upcoming PvE and PvP battles, do we foresee it continuing to be limited to 3 hero teams, or do we have plans for larger teams?
Yeah, so the combat engine is a pretty complex piece of programming. It's all centered around there being 3v3, and like adjusting it to be anything different would be a pretty large amount of reprogramming and refactoring, and not to mention like the whole balance of all the skills and everything else would be thrown off by that. So doing anything other than 3v3, I think would just be a very large amount of work. So in my mind, I would prefer to do anything or get like the combat engine fully featured out before we do anything of that nature. Have all of the classes implemented, all of the mechanics that we've talked about implemented, have traveling out and other combat PvE combat modes that we've been planning on, like get all that done. And then once we're to the point where we're kind of feature complete there, then we can consider, additional modes where, there might be more heroes involved. But it's just such a massive lift. I think we'd have to think pretty hard on like the best way to do something like that. And I think there are ways where we could still have it be 3v3, but then also have other teams be involved with kind of a like larger scale combat and type things. So I think there's things we can do. It's just something that is much further down the road, and it would be too big of a distraction, I think, for us to do anytime soon with everything else that we have that's still pending on the timeline.
Can confirm. Don't make me go berserk. I'll do it.
Maybe just to say it like a slightly different way as well, with something that's meant to be so complex and deep and rich in features. We're really opting to create an incredible 3v3 experience from start to finish, and avoiding having like 3 different versions of that progressing that are going to be suboptimal versus having one. So if you look at limited resources and time, all else equal, the amount we can build out with a 3v3 like baseline for all types of really core combat, including what we're trying to do with PvE and especially PvP, the balancing, the adding new heroes, and all the other mechanics that Hubert has hinted to but hasn't shared yet. It makes it much more of a predictable landscape when we have one environment. But who knows, in the future, as we get to later stages, I'm sure there's so many different things we can do as we gather feedback from players and see how things work to expand on that. But just I think the mindset of one really good core like PvP type versus 2, 3, or 4 that are in comparison mediocre, just given wouldn't have as much time or resources to build out, all else equal. That's like the core thing to keep in mind. And we're really opting to make sure that we nail this 3v3 PvP experience out of the park.
Most definitely. Thoughts of having the possibility to summon a boss fight somehow, perhaps through Gen Zeros?
So yeah, I guess summoning, like using true summoning, that's kind of outside of, I guess, what we've been planning on. I mean, we do still have plans for void shards to be used to do specific, like unlock specific void hunt content. And I do also hope in the future, once we have traveling out and a bunch of other new mechanics, that we can have some boss fights, void hunts, whatever we call them, that are kind of triggered in specific ways that aren't just always available. So in that way, that could be kind of considered summoning a boss fight, but not necessarily by using summoning itself. So I think there's a lot that we can do in the future, but yeah, in terms of just using actual hero summons to make a fight come, that's probably going to be outside of the scope of what we'll be doing anytime soon.
Cool. Any plans to reduce Shavas drop rates?
Not currently. We have some plans for that, and I think we'll see how that goes before we do anything with drop rates.
Awesome. Any plans to remove? Oh, I guess heads up, Beetle. Any plans to remove the locked crystal UI element from the main UI? Potentially move it to the account management screen or something, which could also give the option to move Jewel under gold to change the layout and potentially free up some screen space.
Cool. Yeah, I guess as the unlocking has completed, it probably makes sense to consider that. I think I heard someone mention that maybe if you have a 0 balance, we could handle it differently or hide it or whatever. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's something that we could get added to the list to consider. Though I will put in a good word on the collapsible profile section also, because that will free up all the space. But I get it if someone likes to keep it open to see their balances or whatever. But yeah, I think we can consider it.
I was going to give you a shout out for the collapsible anyway, because yeah, it is excellent.
And I'll just say, I think the hair on Zipper's neck might have risen a little bit when we talked about adding that to the list, because I wonder whose list that might would go on.
It's totally my list, you guys. Hot Zippers.
It can be a shared list, you know? Any thoughts on allowing players to change potion loadouts on hunt retries?
Yeah. As far as like the way it's programmed right now, that would require us to completely refactor the way the contract is set up. But beyond that, the idea of a retry is it's just a reset of your starting conditions. It's not a complete do-over as if you had not began the fight. So the restart just lets you, whatever skills you picked, whatever potions you brought with you, that's what you have, and you can try again with what you brought. If you want to try again with different conditions, you need to start the fight from the very beginning, by admitting defeat if you're using the same heroes, and then getting the stamina you need. That's the kind of the intent of how that's set up. And yeah, it would be a pretty big effort to change the way that works, and I don't really want to go that direction either. So yeah.
Very nice, very nice. This one's a pretty open question, so anybody that wants to add anything is more than welcome to. But thoughts on the current long-term vision for DFK? They did say, and I appreciate it, thank you. I know it'll be full of disclaimers and that you might pivot, abandon some ideas, etc. But just having a idea of what our current vision is for the future. I'm just going to pre-caveat, all of this is subject to change and is speculation, and it's just us talking. Hubert, Dreamer, I think, I guess really anybody.
I get excited when we talk about vision, but Hubert, did you want to go first? I have a tendency to be long-winded and get excited, and I just drink coffee, so...
Yeah, sure, I can go first. I also just drank coffee, which is just necessary for me to even be awake right now. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I'm mostly focused on the game side of things. There's a lot that has to go into partnerships and expansions and different chains and various things that I'll just leave for Dreamer to talk about. But in terms of just the game itself, I guess I'll kind of just give the general overview of where I see us going, which, there's a lot of mechanics we've talked about in the past and that you guys are aware of that we don't have out yet. Like one thing would be traveling in the game, where you'd actually be moving your heroes around to different regions on the map. And based on which region you're in, there'd be different content available there, different monsters you can fight, different profession quests you can do, different other different things that you can do, plus access to lands, and bringing lands into the whole gameplay loop as being kind of a core place to take care of different functionality in the game and within the economy, having them be kind of the locations that you go to in order to do crafting, having them kind of really play into just that whole aspect of, there's something going on in this region, and you would go to the lands in that region to help support you do those things, and just allowing us, once we have that kind of core model set up, then all we need to do at that point, I think, is just keep iterating, adding on more content, adding dungeons, adding new monsters, new levels, new skills, new classes once we get to other expansions and whatnot. But really having that be kind of the core gameplay loop of, you're traveling around, there's different things happening. You log into the game and see if there's anything special going on. There might be a special event that you want to participate in. maybe there's something that you knew was coming, and now it's time. Plus, that's all just on the PVE side. We also have PvP that we're in development with right now as well. We plan to have tournaments and other content in the future with that as well. So there'd be PvP content going on, and really just making it a very engaging kind of MMORPG feeling game where you have your legion of heroes and you're managing them and using them to do various combat and kind of live within the realm of DeFi Kingdoms with it. So there's a lot to get to the end point on that, but that's generally the overall goal that I see us going towards, and that's been like my compass needle hasn't really changed on that for the longest of time. So it's still possible that some of those things might get prioritized over others. Some we might add or change a few things within there, but that's at least in game direction. That's where I'm trying to point us to. And over to you, Dreamer.
Thanks, Hubert. So we're going to tackle this from two different perspectives. Hubert just talked about all the things that are a part of the build vision. I'm going to try to say a lot of the same stuff, but from like the player experience. So I'm going to use a couple different things and touch on them. First is classes. We just had Berserker come out. This is what, the 6th class? What does that mean? We have 6 classes out. Some might say, hey, before PvP, it'd be really great if we had all classes out. I think this is setting us up perfectly for when, the various forms and stages of PvP start to come out. We now have at least one like unique class per slot, right? There's a lot of different combinations, each class having a number of different combinations within themselves, the combinations with different equipment as well. We have kind of the bare minimum to make this really exciting in terms of player versus player competition. Super excited about that. As people see that and experience it, now imagine each class that comes out, the overall impact that'll have on a meta. We'll actually have a never-changing kind of meta each time there's updates, new classes, and so on. So the overall vision of just the classes is really cool as it relates to the competitive nature of PvP. So stoked about that. PvP, I am excited for because it's a unique hook. It's something that the game lacks currently. There's a lot of players out there that like video games and grew up playing competitive games. There's a lot of other players that like to have the balance where you can have your PvE experience and everything, but really like test yourself in PvP. And as you maybe lose or reach your goals, you kind of retreat back into PvE and you have that balance, that love, give and take between them. It's going to completely change it for our hardcore players. It's going to change it for new players, and it's going to change it for onlookers. When we look at Twitter and other forms of social media where we share things, I love watching hunt replays. If you're somebody that doesn't understand the game and doesn't play it and you watch it, you'll be like, this is cool. I'm not sure what exactly is going on here. You beat the boss. That's cool. But when we look at PvP and you have streamers that may not be playing, they might just be commentating on a tournament that's sponsored by XYZ sponsor that is getting some kind of cool prize pool that's participating in some IRL event. And now I'm an onlooker and I say, oh, wow, these people are playing. I at least understand they won. How'd they win? That's pretty cool. Wow, look at all of those assets that are tokenized in game. Where do they come from? I'm going to try it out. That whole vision of PvP for a hook for new players is really exciting to me. It's not only a hook to get them in to play PvP, but there's a secondary hook built in there. If you like PvP, if you like watching it, and as a spectator, there's unique things you can do, you're going to get pulled into PvP, which then pulls you into the full realms. Because if you're enjoying PvP, guess what? You're going to want to go to DFK Chain and Klaytn. You're going to want to go to Serendale and Crystal Vale to, level up your heroes, to look at all the different forms of benefit that ultimately contribute to PvP. So there's multiple hooks within PvP that the long-term vision we should be excited about. It's not just saying, hey, now we have a way to play each other. This could be a huge catalyst for the entire movement of onboarding, of current players, of as some people refer to as like guilds or social play. I know we don't have official guilds there right now, but we have a lot of social groups. Going to be really cool. As we look at other features that aren't currently in priority, but are definitely going to change the game long-term vision, shifting away from PvP and back to like the full realms, keeping in mind the more PvP grows and is exciting on the streaming, the spectator, and other features that I'm being very careful not to mention, the full realms have a lot of change in the future as well from the player's perspective. Today we are commanders of legions of heroes. We're farming, we're leveling up, we're getting stronger, we're summoning, we're dark summoning, we're using pets, we're feeding pets, we're getting equipment. In the future, there's going to be durability and so on. But the biggest game changer, I think, in that experience will be travel. As we take a step back and we say the opportunity of cost, not only of like the stamina from a hero, the opportunity cost of stamina, but also like the location of those assets, that's going to be so freaking cool. It's going to really challenge the player to say, what do I do with my legion? What do I do with all of my assets? How do I, maybe I'm looking at it from an ROI perspective. Maybe I'm trying to maximize my ability to win upcoming PvP matches. Maybe I'm trying to qualify for unique matches that other third parties are going to host. It's not only going to be PvP cool, get in the game to like level up and get equipment and come back and play. The experience is going to massively change with things like travel, with things like crafting that will connect all of the in-game economies to the features that are in store and live today. The last piece I'll mention that is really important for that long-term vision is game loop. We have a really good end game loop. Even today, our hardcore players love doing the min-maxing. We have incredible streams of people looking at different ways and different traits and different rarities. New players struggle a bit with that like early game loop. I think it's been referred to as scrub fights, if that's right, Hubert. Scrub fights and other features that will cater to newer players to come in. It's not only about tutorials. How do you do all the hard things in the game? There's got to be fun things for people to do related to battle, related to combat, related to maybe PvP or PvE or other things that are little hooks. If we think about starting a new RPG game, man, you're excited about just basic attacking an enemy and just seeing how like the timing works and just understanding what strength is. Now, if you're a hardcore RPG player, you hop in and you're like, okay, I get all this. You kind of want to rush through it, but folks are going to want to take it slow, especially given the unique nature of DeFi Kingdoms, where we've tokenized the crap out of everything. So that is going to be a part of that long-term vision. That's going to be really important, and something as simple as like level 1 to level 5 little fights where people can come in and with their level 1 to 5 heroes get in there and feel like, oh, whoa, I beat an enemy. This is cool. You don't have to go in and beat like the end bosses right away because that's really hard. It's meant to be really hard. These type of things are going to continue to change the game from a player's perspective, from a user acquisition perspective, from an economy perspective, from a demand perspective. So we have to keep in mind time is required to make sure we do all these things in the right order, in the right quality, in the right testing environment, and to make it safe for existing players. So that vision, as we zoom out, I might have zoomed out, I don't know how many years in that kind of ramble. But what we do know is we got 6 classes out. That's exciting. It's okay the other ones aren't out, because the more features that use those codexes and are live, every time those new ones come out, the ROI of that release is going to be significantly greater than having them all out today. But it's also okay that we took time to sprint out 2 to get to 6, because 6 is a great number in a 3v3 environment. I feel like we're sitting pretty on that. We're progressing well on PvP. We have good partners for it. We have a good vision. And on everything else that may be on the back burner as we get ready for it, including like crafting, travel, and others, we know that when we get to that point and are ready for it, it's going to change the game in a completely different way. We got to, trust the process. We have to trust our incredible game committee and the order of operations as we're releasing things. But hopefully that adds a little bit of light on the vision from the player's perspective and how incredible the DeFi Kingdoms experience. And we didn't even talk about, new realms and kind of having different versions of stuff we already had. We only talked about the core big features and how it really changes the game for the long-term vision of the player.
That was freaking awesome. I love that. I think we should have a new AMA session that's just Dreamer and Hubert. We give them espresso machines and we call it fully caffeinated speculation, because you guys were just awesome right there. You added just about everything in the game. I'm excited about a lot of things. Main one being crafting. Big shout out to Kupo out there, but that you guys just gave, everybody from the Mythic Squad and Ogres, AMA speculation to, what goes on with the jewelers and their stuff on the weekend, all kinds of ammunition. I'm excited about so much that's going into this game, including what Sunbear's doing. I get a chance to sit in on some of the partnership discussions and, all the people that are getting talked to out there. And, Beetle's creating amazing things as well when it comes to the combat engine. But yeah, there's just so much to look forward to. And Hubert and Dreamer, I mean, when you guys are on your game and everything's flowing, man. Dreamer, I thought that was awesome. You just did a great job with there. And I think you gave so much alpha in such a short amount of time. I was scared that, Bolon's alpha police was going to come in and mute at some point, but you let it go. Anyway, I'm excited about enchantment. I love seeing those slots for enchantment. I want to get my enchanting pets right now. That's what I love in the game, but everybody has their own option, what it is they want to do. That's what makes DFK so special. Just wanted to add that in right there, and I'll send it over to whoever wants to go next.
I was hovering the button, but no, no, nothing too crazy, but definitely like just an excellent overview of just how much is to come. And I just wanted to take a second and emphasize like how much thought goes into everything we do. We don't really specialize in snap decisions, which is a good thing for the most part. But, all of these features, like, not all of them are designed yet. Obviously, like everything's subject to change, of course. But there's just so much thought that goes into designing and building the most fun game that we are able to put together, the most balanced game that we are able to put together, and really, from all perspectives, from the economy perspective, from the player perspective, from just a raw fun perspective. And this is a purely personal statement. I think Berserker is so much fun. Is it always the most practical class? Nope. Don't care. My Berserker can hit my own team all at once because it's fun. And so just the amount of thought that goes into these features, like it is, it's something that we take very seriously. We've got a lot of stuff to build and we're excited to do it. And it's going to be a lot of fun for us, for all of you, for everybody.
I'll just add. Oh, thanks. I'll just add, I just love the last 20 minutes. It just seems like, we spend so much energy because we care about our community, because we care so much about this project. We spend so much energy making sure that we under promise and over deliver, and that what we deliver is quality and that it's fully tested and, and that we're there to make sure the bugs get worked out, all that kind of stuff. I think we spend so much on that because, we have been around almost 3 years as a project and we've learned a lot along the way. But it's so nice to shift to really show you all why we're doing this. Like the big vision is why. The people that are up on the screen, the people that are on our team that are sticking around for years building this thing is why. Because it is unique, it is new. We are bending all the rules. We are seeing what's possible with the blockchain. We are lovers of gaming. We're here because this is something that one has never been done quite this way, and we want to not just be the OG. We want to be the project that people come to and enjoy. So years to come and a lot of passion up here. And I mean, I shifted from a professional career to be a part of this team because I believe, especially in the words that were said here by Dreamer and all of the creators actually.
Beetle, now that we've stolen all the good comments, anything you want to add?
Right? What the heck? No, I think you all can do a much better job at talking about it than I can. So I appreciate that you got in all the important stuff. And I'll just say, as someone who's building it, this is, I'll just say that every week that we get together as a game committee, sometimes twice a week, our goal is to make a great game. So I know in this space, you never know exactly what you're going to get. But I'm proud of this team, proud that we continue to prioritize making an awesome game over almost anything else, and that we have a vision. It's still strong, and I think we've shown that if you just let us run with that vision, that we're able to continue pushing out a ton of content, probably more than a lot of other games in the space. So I guess just proud of the team and excited that we continue to have a solid vision and goal to push forward towards.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all of you. That was beautiful. We've sound bites to clip later, for sure. Also, the chat is currently a bit of a love fest for Berserker, which is awesome to see. But especially Hubert and Beetle, who have put in so much time on it. Take a look at that if you aren't, because it's very very positive, which is fun. That said, don't take too much of a look, because I still got a question for you, Hubert. We're back. I hope you all enjoyed this commercial break. So with hunts and hunts rewards specifically, once heroes get to level 20, the XP bonus for higher level combat is less applicable after a handful of hunts, outside of the moksha drop chance being increased by the 0.25% per level. Do we have anything in mind to incentivize playing with the currently maxed out level heroes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that is a good point. That we do have kind of a level cap at level 20 right now. So once you do reach the maximum, as the question said, it's you lose a little bit of the incentive there. So that's something I think we'll bring back and internally and think about and see if there's something that we can do. I'm supportive of that, of doing something. I think just because. In a lot of games as well, I'm thinking about Final Fantasy 11 in particular. They did have a whole system for once you reach the max level, things that you could do to still like continue with playing and whatnot. So, yeah, I'll just say I'm supportive, and we'll maybe have more to say later. And that's all I'll say for now on that.
Awesome. Beetle Dude,
Mind if I cut in?
do the honors.
Cool. Yeah, one thing I don't think we've mentioned live, at least, and probably haven't given them credit yet, but I did want to mention Pinecone and Typical were in very imperative on the Berserker build out. So they have been getting them into the combat engine, and they've been picking it up really quickly, and did the lion's share of the work on Berserker, at least on the combat engine side. So just want to give them a shout out. They did an awesome job. It's exciting to have additional hands there that can make sure I'm not the only one, and I can also I have other people to blame. Not that I would, and obviously it went perfectly because I wasn't the only one working on it. So all around great job to them. And we've also been working on a lot of testing on the combat engine as well, which is going to make it nice and functional as we move forward. So thanks, fellas.
Thank you. I'm going to grab one more question, and then I forgot that we do have an update to give, so we're going to jump backwards into that update, and then if we have time, we'll grab another question or two, but that may take us to the end. Thoughts on allowing shiny cards to give a small boost towards rarity when dark summoning?
I'd refer back to my previous answer on that. I think with the new mechanic, there's a higher likelihood that I'd consider something there. But with this, we already have, like, if you summon with shiny heroes, you have a higher chance of getting another shiny hero. So I'd say with dark summoning, I think that's already accounted for and in the shape that we like it. Shininess doesn't really impact anything in game. You can't tell that your heroes are shiny in combat or anything like that. So it is really meant to be just a nice little cosmetic addition that we added, not to be something that is like the end all be all of the heroes. So awesome. I love every
every time you give an answer like that, somebody in chat's just like, no.
Try to be a little, give a little more than that, but yeah, no.
Oh, they know what you mean. And actually, thank you, Zealous. You reminded me of another update. So, 2 updates real quick. First and foremost, Zealous had made a little bit of merch, DFK merch. He made a silly axolotl stamp. Wow, that word was hard to say. As well as some DFK poker cards. Both of them look really cool. They came out fantastically. I'm personally pretty obsessed with the cards right now. Actually, they look awesome. So make sure you check out. Honestly, I don't know the best way to refer it right now. We're working on making a smoother process to have people be able to get to it easier. So there will be more details coming on that. But if you want to check it out now, ask Zealous what the best way to get there is. But I'm sure it's on his Twitter and everything as well. And there will be a smoother process getting put in place in the near term, and we'll expand on that as it shapes up. So looking forward to that, but they look awesome. Shout out to Zealous for putting those together. They really are just beautiful. The other update, which I was supposed to give and slipped my mind, so apologies. We will also be announcing this later through social medias, but for those of you that are here, you get first dibs on the information. We are going to be retiring the offerings system. So next Wednesday will be the final offerings. So they will continue to run as normal from now until then. And then on Wednesday, once those offerings are drawn, there will not be a new round of them coming up. However, well, actually, I guess before I say that, Hubert, Beetle, anything you want to add on that and what that process will look like?
I'll just, yeah, as far as what it looks like, it'll just, once we reach that point, the last raffles that get drawn, like there will just be no new additional ones added after that point. So the current raffle screen will just shrink down to being empty. We'll still have the previous ones available there for you to look at, and for at least for a period of time. We do have plans to repurpose our wonderful stump friend that's there, so he's not just going to go away entirely, but there'll be more to say on that in the future.
What Hubert said sounds great. Long live Stumpy.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, gentlemen. Like I said, that will be announced on socials in a little bit. So, you know, if you listen to this later, you may have already seen it. If you, for whatever reason, don't listen to our AMAs, you should. But also, you'll still get the news from Discord and Twitter. But yeah, so keep that on your minds for next Wednesday. All right. With that said, I think we are going to move into our wrap up. We made some really good progress on questions today, so we're getting caught up on everything that is currently submitted. As always, if you have questions that you would like us to answer, please submit them to talk.defykingdoms.com or in the AMA questions channel in our Discord. We answer them in the order they're received on the talk site first, and then going over to Discord, just so we aren't bouncing back and forth between both all the time. But thank you for submitting questions. Please keep them coming so that we can keep doing these AMAs and have questions to answer. As always, thank you everyone who is up here for taking the time out of your day to come and answer these questions and donate into Broken Mechanics. But outside of that, any final thoughts from anybody?
Just appreciate this team. I think people mentioned it in the chat, but we are very flexible, and it's good to have support of a lot of talented people, and that'll just keep us moving forward at a great pace. So appreciate this team, appreciate the community. Y'all are the best.
Definitely. Speaking of community, big shout out to Dags. I saw that you put a super chat there in the chat. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Bolon, but that's the first one that I've seen that's come into the chat. So thanks, Dags, for that. Also to pin the Donate 3 Live link on the top of the chat as well. So if you don't want to do the super chat, Google always takes their pound of flesh out of all donations anyway. You can use just Jewel or Crystal or anything like that. And all of those donations just go back to you guys through marketing efforts and different things like that. Also to those playing cards that Zealous is making, which are awesome. I know that some of you have bought them before. He's donating the majority of the amount that gets paid for those back to the marketing efforts as well. So big shout out to this community. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you 100%. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, I think that might be our second one, but something like that. I don't know. It's one of the first. Shout out to Dags. Also, shout out to Dags and the Jewelers Guild for the Jewelers Joust. They had a duels tournament running. I think y'all haven't done the finals yet, if I remember right, Dags, but feel free to correct me in chat. But shout out for the duels tournament. That's super exciting. And actually, I think Emerson's might be coming up. I need to get caught up on the details on that. So apologies, I am not up to date on that one, but I will get up to date on it.
My mic keeps getting unplugged. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Yeah. So last thing I'll just add with like the vision, tried to give the vision of from the player's perspective. But if we look at the product of DeFi Kingdoms perspective, I'll just add like, I don't know, 3 words as a lot of that vision come together. It's really important that we get new players, market, expand, and take over. We're building this to do that. That's the whole vision. That's the point. We're all here real time. It can sometimes feel like a really long road because it is. Quality things take time. Quality communities take time. And we just appreciate and love all of you for joining this chat, for participating, for playing the features, and being patient as we, weather the storms that happen outside of our team and in the whole world, within crypto, within the space, within regulation. None of it really matters in the long-term vision because we'll weather those storms. We'll build the product. We'll break down the barriers. We'll make those gain loops and make it as fun and stable as possible. And we truly believe it as we build it, people will come. They'll come back. They'll come for the first time. They'll come for the millionth time. And we'll make that experience one that feels like a takeover in the space. We just have to keep the faith, so to speak, keep playing, keep building, supporting each other. And I firmly believe we'll get there. So that new players, market expand, and takeover mindset is kind of the capstone of that vision. And we just need to make sure we remember that in the hard times, in the long times, and support each other. So I won't say the B word, but just wanted to leave that as like the final piece of I guess the vision that we have to keep in mind of the purpose of why we're doing all this.
Don't worry, you're gonna say it in a minute anyway, because I'm gonna nominate you for it. Because A, I don't think we've had you do it in a while now, and B, because you had a 20-minute speech there that's great. So I feel like it's fitting. So we're gonna go back to you for that in just a minute. I did want to say, I think it's funny. It was, just about 2 years ago, Avalanche Summit 1, during your keynote that we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. And that has not changed. So I just got hardcore flashbacks to that summit when you said that. Any last comments from anybody else before we go to Dreamer to bullish us out? All right, Dreamer, take it away.
All right, everybody, before I say the B word, I'm going to invite y'all to close your eyes and think of that vision. What does it mean to you? Where will you be? Are you going to be a part of some big guild? Are you going to be PvP? Are you going to be, trying to compete in those tournaments? Are you going to have the best lineup? Are you going to be the guy traveling around and crafting and doing as much of the in-game economy? Are you going to be doing all of it? Is DFK going to be your essential life and the lifeblood of the stability and that we leave the real world and retreat to this awesome world? I don't know, but what I'm sure of is if you're here, if you're going to stay here, if you've left and are coming back, that we're all going to be mega bullish.
Bullish!
Bullish!
We will see you all next week.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion